I'm Mark Busing from Libertyville High School with the Polar Trek program, hanging out for a little while with Operation IceBridge in Greenland. And Bryan Townley joins me today for this interview. Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you.
Tell us where you grew up and where you went to high school.
Grew up in Kansas City, which I guess Kansas City right next to the border on Missouri side. So I got to get a little bit MU and KU. But I went to KU and went to high school at Shawnee Mission East.
What were your interests in high school?
Interests, science, anything science, mostly not chemistry, but mostly the physics side of things, and I guess anything that could answer a question why, possibly. So.
Any extracurricular activities, clubs?
Soccer, played soccer, and a lot of outdoor activities, climbing clubs, things like that, biking.
Neat.
Anything that would get me away from the city for a little bit.
Nice.
And you went to KU.
Yep.
And what did you major in there?
Electrical engineering and close to a minor in Brazilian Portuguese.
Wow.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
And what do you think originally got you interested in science and engineering?
Well, father being a teacher, he was teaching industrial technology, which is the old shop type stuff. So I was always had my hands on cars and whatever else that needed to be fixed, and then a lot of asking why was another thing. And then I actually got an opportunity through a physics professor at the Shawnee Mission East there, and he was offering a class in electronics. So I got to play with electronics and blow up capacitors and blow up circuits and hook things up wrong, and then realized that was something I was sort of interested in, and it got to answer a little bit more on the other side of the physical world that we don't normally see, which is the electrons and their movement and how they kind of play a part in our life.
So how did you get from that undergraduate degree to coming to do work for NASA's Operation IceBridge?
I think the foundation started definitely with school. Shawnee Mission East was probably one of the premier science and math schools in the Shawnee Mission district with the high test scores. So we were always prepped really well. I almost felt like, college was a little bit easier than it was in high school. But I think getting the foundations sound, I kind of felt like I was able to move forward, and I guess to get into the NASA side, I'd always had pictures of the space shuttle up in my room when I was a kid, and so I actually it's a funny thing, I had a drawing that I did in first grade, and we were asked to see where we were going to be in 20 years, at the time we were 20, and I was holding a KU pennant and this little stick figure, and then I had some NASA logos, so I think it was one of those things where I sort of thought about my future young, and it just played out the way it was supposed to without me really thinking about it. It sort of just crept up, and then there it is.
Tell me what you're doing for NASA.
I basically work with the University of Kansas still. I was hired on right after I graduated, and then decided to go work with CReSIS instead of taking other jobs, possibly with the Air Force or other people. And this job was going to allow me to travel. It was going to allow me to see places that I'd heard about but not seen ever, and I thought maybe mix some of the outdoors side with the science side and see how that happens. But we at CReSIS we monitor ice sheets with radar systems, and that's kind of what KU's known for, is remote sensing. So it just, everything kind of, like I said, played out. It was just kind of a wonderful thing. Favorite part? Actually, probably the favorite part of the job could be traveling. I mean, it's a 50-50 toss between traveling and, as an engineer, I feel I'm a glorified problem solver. And so the problem-solving aspect of engineering is probably the other draw in. And I think if you get into companies and you're looking at companies, sometimes you're blocked off, you're sectioned off on what you can do, and you work on a portion of a project. Just so happens at my job I get to see the development work to the design work to testing, and then we actually deploy it. So I see the full the full cycle of, let's say, radar hardware and how you use it. So that's...
Neat.
What advice would you give to maybe particularly a high school student that wanted to follow in your shoes?
The best advice is to not give up. I think that's one of the first things I see in engineering is you'll see a number of people start engineering and then they quit. And they usually go to business or some other degree. They seek another degree. And I think people think it's too hard, but I think I said before, the foundations, setting that up, getting yourself comfortable to move towards the engineering degree is like that's the way to do it. And you find, at times it's overwhelming, a lot of hours in the lab, and it's very, very demanding, going through school. But I think once you get through it and say, I've got it, the doors just swing wide open. And it's not necessarily the best job for getting a lot of money, but it's definitely answers a lot of whys. So if you're always asking why in the car or why this, and your parents can't stand it, then this probably engineering is something for you. So.